me ask you all a question. Have you ever talked to a tree? Yes. Good. A+ for you. Have you ever slowed down enough to listen to what the tree might be saying back to you? A few of you are still getting the gold star. Good. I know these questions sound a little hippy-dippy, a little woo-woo, but there's so much science backing up the physical and mental health benefits of nature that it's actually essential that all of us ask ourselves this question. What is my relationship with nature like? When I was a little girl, I spent a lot of time outdoors. Yep, that's me. And even though that photo is in black and white, I can assure you of two things. One, that jacket is denim, right? It was 1976, come on. And two, I never actually caught a fish, like ever. But I loved playing outside. I loved building forts. I loved playing capture the flag. I loved swimming in the rivers near where I grew up. And I sort of felt like the outdoors was an extension of who I was, and that I was a part of all of that. I remember one day growing up in Kansas after one of those big Kansas thunderstorms, I found this cluster of daffodils, and they were all kind of pelted and droopy after the rainstorm. And this one daffodil in particular had a bent and even broken stem. And I felt so sad for this flower. I was about 10 or 11 years old, okay, way too old to engage in the magical thinking that inspired the actions I took, which was to pick the broken daffodil, wrap its stem in Scotch tape, and put it in a vase. I know, aw. It was a very misguided rescue mission because I think you all know how that ended. So I look back on this story as an adult and I kind of roll my eyes, like what was I thinking? But I also have a deeper meaning to the story, which is this eco-empathy that was an innate part of my childlike humanity. To feel the pain of the natural world and to share in that might be a part of what Harvard biologist E.O. Wilson called biophilia. Wilson defined biophilia as our innate affinity for the natural world. And he believed that this affinity, this love, was fundamental to our well-being and to the well-being of the planet. What I didn't realize when I was a little girl was that nature would love me back when I needed it the most. It was a Tuesday night, and I remember because it was Taco Tuesday in our house, and the phone rang, and I could hear my father's voice. It was feeble, it was weak. This man, this 77-year-old man who had been living with stage 4 cancer for 8 years, called to tell me he had tested positive for COVID-19. This is the call that all of us dreaded getting from our parents. And he was high risk for a lot of reasons, and I knew how serious it was, and I was on the first plane out the next morning. And what ensued were 3 days spending time with my dad in an acute care COVID unit in a hospital, dressed in a full hazmat suit with a face mask and a face shield. The nurses let us break all the visiting rules. It was an absolute miracle. We laughed, we cried, we talked about life and death. And it was sacred and precious time, but it didn't last. On the 4th day, my father was put on a ventilator, and I couldn't visit anymore. And all I could do was wait. You know that dense time in your life where all you can do is wait and maybe pray, if you're a praying person? It can feel really, really powerless. And I had to slow down. I couldn't answer emails, I couldn't take Zoom calls, I couldn't teach my class. The only thing I could do was go outside. So I would go to Holiday Park in Indianapolis, and I found this tree, this beech tree that grows so straight and tall and sturdy to the sky. And I was so drawn to her. First, I was a little tentative, like, oh my God, is anyone around? Is anyone looking at me? Because I'm about to hug this tree. And I opened my arms and I threw my arms around this tree, and you guys, I sobbed. I sobbed, and I could feel the pain and the anger and the grief releasing. And this tree, she held all of this with a silent, steady love that's really hard to find in other places. And I remember my face, tear-stained face, was like pressed against the bark, and this family was walking by, and they were kind of like, okay, you know, they kind of like walked around me, and I'm sure they thought I was completely unhinged, but I didn't care, because I knew that that tree was the only thing strong enough to hold my grief and hold the grief that was to come. Because after 10 days of fighting for his life, my dad took his last earthly breath. Now, those of you who have lost a parent know that there's nothing that can prepare you for this. Not even being a social worker or a therapist can save you. And I had to admit in that moment that I was not immune from the trauma of the pandemic. And I became one of the millions of people around the world that lost a loved one to COVID-19. And I want to be really sensitive that that may include some of you. I wish I could say that this was a turning point for me, where I slowed down, I processed this grief and loss, but it wasn't. I was back at work a week later, and in fact, in the year after my father died, I didn't take one thing off my plate. And I'm not bragging. I'm not proud of this. Like you, I think I am deeply conditioned by this productivity mindset that equates my worth with how much I do. And then I hit the wall. You know the wall. It's that invisible force that makes you face the truth of your situation. I needed to grieve, and instead, what I was doing was going 100 miles an hour. And in that moment, I realized I needed to take a dose of my own nature-based medicine. The irony is, I know the research about nature and well-being. I do the research on nature and well-being. But knowing and conducting the research on something is so different than applying that wisdom to my own life. But it was so uncomfortable to have the shoe on the other foot, because I'm used to being the helper. You see, not surprisingly, the little girl that ran around saving the flowers, I guess I should use air quotes when I say that, saving the flower, grew up to be an outdoor therapist and researcher. And for over 30 years, I have witnessed the profound impact of outdoor therapy on people struggling with trauma and mental health and substance abuse. My work has mostly focused on structured mental health interventions like wilderness and adventure therapy. But during the COVID-19 pandemic, all of us realized how nature was good for us. We started hitting the trails because it was the only thing we could do to leave our house and social distance in kind of a safe way. And when we were stuck online, stuck in our homes, we knew that going outside was our respite. If there was a silver lining to the COVID-19 pandemic, this was it. That we finally started caring about our mental health, and that we realized the role that nature could play in it. But we're still at a tipping point. We're still struggling with trauma in this country and around the world, and mental health challenges and addiction. And a lot of people do not have access to formal mental health support. And even those of us privileged enough to go to therapy often can't wait for the next session to feel okay. So we need something now. We need something in real time. We need something free, and we need something accessible. We need nature. But you all already know this. You know this. It is not new wisdom. You knew it when you were a kid, and your ancestors knew it before you even existed. This is ancient, ancestral, indigenous wisdom, and it's been threatened by manifest destiny, colonization, historical trauma, and the commodification of natural resources. And I'm just trying to return myself to that wisdom with so much humility by asking that question, what is my relationship with nature like? Indigenous environmental scientist Jessica Hernandez said, nature protects us as long as we protect nature. Now, I don't know if she means rescuing flowers, but I think what she means is seeing ourselves in relationship to the natural world and not as separate from it. But it's not just a change in our worldview that's required. It's actually a change in our behavior. I know. You're thinking, oh my gosh, she's gonna tell me I have to get outside, and it's gonna be one more thing I have to do for like self-care. And you're busy people. So let me take away all of your excuses. During the pandemic, some researchers at Cornell did a study looking at the amount of time, the dose, that it would take to spend in nature for college students to enhance their mental health and well-being. And I'm a mom of 2 college-age students, and I'm a professor here at Texas State, and I work with a lot of students who have a history of trauma and mental health challenges. And so when I read their findings, I was like giddy. I was so excited. I almost want to give you guys a pop quiz. That's like the professor in me, but I will just tell you the answer. It only takes as little as 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes a day, sitting or walking in nearby nature. That means right out your door, to experience these mental health benefits. So I started thinking, I should make this a homework assignment for my students, just like any professor would. I teach a class in outdoor therapy. So I had my students start doing this, spending 10 minutes a day in nature, and I even had them journaling about it. I started reading their journals, and based on their feedback, I was so amazed that the one thing they said over and over that they needed to really benefit from these 10 minutes in nature, it's that one thing that was so hard to do but so essential to do when I needed to heal my grief when I lost my father. It's that thing that's hard for all of us to do, given how busy and hectic and harried our lives are, but it's that thing that was so easy for me to do when I was that little girl picking the flower or that grieving daughter hugging the tree. And that is to go slow. Okay, now anyone in this room that knows me is like, yeah, good luck with that, Norton, right? I do not go slow by nature. And so this actually stopped me in my tracks because I thought, what if it's not just about the quantity of time? What if it's about the quality of these 10 minutes? And so I know I need help to slow down. So I created a research-informed framework to help myself, to help my students, and hopefully to help you all go slow in nature for 10 minutes a day, because this is your homework assignment, right? Again, professor hat. To go 10 minutes a day, to go slow for 10 minutes a day. So in closing, I want to share this framework with you because I believe that your well-being is worth it. The first is to get outside. That might seem obvious. But being outside isn't accessible or safe for everyone. There's a lot of work we have to do to create a safe space for people outside, so that outdoors is, again, a safe place for everyone. But if you can, take a break from your busy life. This isn't like the Nike slogan, just do it. It's actually about getting away from the grind. It's actually about prioritizing your well-being and just saying, ooh, I'm gonna take that break right now. Those 10 minutes are important, knowing what this will do. Get outside. And when you go, seek. Seek what? Seek beauty, seek awe, seek meaning and purpose. Affective neuroscientist Jack Panksepp defines seeking as one of the 7 primary emotional processes fundamental to our survival. And he defines seeking as a combination of enthusiasm and curiosity. Do that. Seek and you will find. Now, this next part is where the tree might actually talk back to you. I think nature's always speaking to us, and she speaks in a lot of different languages. She speaks in the language of beauty and awe. She speaks in the language of sensation, like the warm sun on your face or a gentle breeze on your skin. She also speaks in metaphor, like the way a tree digs its roots down deep during a drought, or the way a river teaches you to go with the flow, or the way a forest regenerates after the trauma of a forest fire. Listen, what is nature saying to you? She will have a unique message for you every day. And then observe. Observe using as many of the 5 senses that you have access to, but also observe the thoughts, feelings, and sensations inside of you. And try to do this without judgment. By practicing that mindfulness in nature, you actually calm your central nervous system, you reduce stress, and you even boost your immune system. And when we do this, when we go slow, we widen our capacity for resolve. We expand our ability to tolerate and cope with distress. We get stronger. We feel more connected. Our identity feels more whole. Spending time outside has a profound and lasting effect. So I hope you'll prioritize your well-being 10 minutes a day so you can also experience the hope, the renewal, and the resolve that comes from going slow. But that's the part you have to remember first, so that you can fully embrace the words of Ralph Waldo Emerson, who said, "Adopt the pace of nature. Her secret is patience." Thank you so much.